It was the kind of headline nobody saw coming in early 2026. Donald Trump, still sitting in the Oval Office, was going back on Jimmy Kimmel Live. The same show where, a couple of years earlier, he'd stormed off the set the second Jimmy started digging into family stuff. Those awkward questions about Barron, Melania, Ivanka that hit too close to home. Back then, the clip went viral in minutes. Trump standing up mid-sentence, pointing, muttering something about fake news and disrespect, then just walking out while the audience sat there stunned. People still talked about it like it was yesterday. So when the announcement dropped that he was coming back, the internet lost its mind. Was this a comeback tour? Was he trying to fix the damage? Or was the president just showing up to take control of the story again, the way he always does? Pundits on every channel were guessing. Some said redemption, others said pure strategy. Either way, the whole country was watching. The night of the taping, the studio in Hollywood felt different. The usual late-night buzz was there. People laughing, taking selfies. But underneath it all was this thick, electric tension. Then Jimmy walked out looking calm as ever, that easy smile on his face like nothing big was about to happen. He cracked a couple of quick jokes to warm the crowd, but you could tell he was locked in. This wasn't just another guest spot, this was a rematch. Then the music hit again, louder this time, and out came Trump. Same red tie, same walk, big wave to the crowd like he owned the place. People clapped, some out of habit, some because they were genuinely curious. A few because they just wanted to see what would go down. He shook hands with a couple crew guys, gave that trademark thumbs up, and sat down across from Jimmy. He looked confident, sure, but there was something else there too. Maybe a flicker of nerves, maybe just the weight of knowing the last time didn't end well. Jimmy leaned in, still smiling, and said, "Welcome back, Mr. President. Good to see you." Trump nodded, gave a short, "Thank you, Jimmy," and the crowd settled. Game on. They started light, the way you have to. Jimmy asked about the latest White House stuff, some policy win Trump wanted to brag about, a funny story from a state dinner, even a quick bit about golf. Trump jumped right in, doing his thing. Fast talk, big gestures, throwing in tremendous, and nobody does it better every few sentences. The audience laughed in the right spots. It felt almost normal. Almost. But nobody was fooled. Everyone knew the real conversation was coming. Jimmy kept it breezy for now, nodding along, letting Trump roll, but every once in a while, he'd tilt his head just a little, like he was waiting. Trump kept glancing at him too, testing the waters. Jimmy let the small talk run its course for a good 10 minutes, keeping things easy, letting Trump get comfortable in the chair. Then he leaned forward just a touch, that same friendly smile still there, and said, "So, Mr. President, how's the family doing these days? Barron's getting big. How's he holding up with all the spotlight?" It was gentle, almost casual, the way you ask someone about their kid at a barbecue. But the second the name Barron left Jimmy's mouth, you could feel the shift in the room. Trump's posture straightened like someone flipped a switch. He didn't hesitate. "Barron's great, Jimmy. Tremendous kid. Smart, strong, loves his mother. Melania is his mother. Full stop. Anyone saying different is pushing fake news. Total lies." He said it fast, firm, like he was slamming a door on the whole topic. But Jimmy didn't back off right away. He nodded slowly like he was really listening, then followed up. "Yeah, people have wondered about some of the old rumors. Ivanka too. How's she doing with everything?" That was all it took. Trump jumped in again, words pouring out quicker now. "Ivanka's incredible. Always has been. She's out there working, building things, being a great mom herself. And Melania, look, we've been together forever. Barron was born in 2006, March 20th, right here in New York. We were at the hospital, the whole thing. Pictures everywhere, people saw us. Holidays in Mar-a-Lago, Christmas trees, Easter egg hunts, family stuff, normal family stuff." He started ticking off moments like he was reading from a mental checklist. Thanksgiving dinners, school plays, trips to Europe, even a random soccer game Barron played in when he was little. The details kept coming, one after another. No pause. At first, the audience was nodding along, impressed by how much he remembered. But then it started to pile up. Trump would finish one story and immediately loop back to another, like he was afraid if he stopped, someone might jump in with doubt. And let me tell you, Melania was pregnant. Beautiful pregnancy, by the way. She glowed. We had doctors, the best doctors. Birth certificates, public record. People dig into this because they hate us winning, but the facts are there. He gestured with both hands, chopping the air for emphasis, then pointed at the camera like he was talking straight to the doubters at home. Jimmy just kept nodding, calm, not interrupting, letting it roll. Every so often he'd say something soft like, "That sounds like a lot of good memories," which only seemed to fuel Trump more. The more he talked, the messier it got. One minute he was on Barron's first birthday party, the next he was jumping to Ivanka's wedding, then back to Melania's modeling days, then forward to a family vacation in Scotland where they all played golf. Stories overlapped, dates blurred a little, and he kept circling the same points. Melania is the mother, always has been, no question. He said it so many times it started sounding less like confidence and more like he was trying to convince himself as much as anyone else. The audience could feel it. The energy wasn't landing the way he wanted. A few people shifted in their seats. Whispers started. You could see it on their faces. Why is he going this hard? What's he so worried about proving? Trump didn't seem to notice. He kept pushing, voice getting a little louder, hands moving faster. Look, the media twists everything. They say this, they say that. But I know the truth. We lived it every day. Birth, raising him, everything. He leaned forward now, eyes locked on Jimmy, almost daring him to push back. Jimmy stayed quiet, patient. That small nod again, like he was filing every word away. The room felt tighter. Jimmy finally leaned in a little closer. The shift was subtle, but it cut right through the flow. "Mr. President," Jimmy said, calm as if he was just changing the subject to the weather, "I think it's time to show something." The words landed like a quiet bomb. Trump stopped mid-sentence. The room went dead silent. No coughs, no shifting in seats. Everyone felt the air get heavier in an instant. Jimmy reached under his desk without any drama, no big flourish, no smirk, and pulled out a thin stack of papers. He held them up so the camera could catch the top page clearly. Bold letters across it read, "Barron's Real Parentage Exposed." A low gasp rippled through the audience. Trump's eyes locked on the title. His mouth stayed half open from whatever he'd been about to say next. But nothing came out. Jimmy kept his voice even, almost gentle. "These are documents we've had verified through multiple independent sources, hospital records, legal filings, statements from people who were there at the time. I didn't pull this out of thin air. We checked everything." He flipped to the next page casually like he was showing a grocery list, letting the camera zoom in on dates, signatures, and redacted names that still screamed trouble. Trump's face changed right there on live TV. The usual fire in his eyes dimmed for a split second. His jaw tightened so hard you could see the muscle twitch. He leaned forward, squinting at the papers like he could stare them into disappearing. No quick comeback, no immediate fake news blast. Just a freeze. The man who never shuts up was suddenly quiet, processing. The audience could see it, the crack in the armor, small but real. Jimmy didn't rush him. He just sat there patient, giving the moment room to breathe. Then Jimmy reached over to the side table and hit play on a small device. A crackly audio clip filled the speakers. A man's voice, low, hesitant, clearly trying not to be overheard, said, "Yeah, the birth records were adjusted after the fact. They didn't want questions, so we handled it quietly. Paid the right people. It's not what people think, but it's not what he says either." The clip cut off after about 15 seconds. No names mentioned, but the implication hit like a truck. Trump's head snapped toward the sound. His eyes narrowed even more, fists clenching on his knees. The audience let out a collective breath, some shocked, some leaning forward like they couldn't look away. Jimmy turned back to him, still calm. "That's from a former aide who was close to the family back in the 2005 to 2006. We've got the chain of custody on how it got to us. No tricks here." He set the device down gently. Trump finally found his voice, but it came out lower, rougher than before. That's doctored, complete setup." But the words didn't have their usual punch. They hung there, weak against the weight of what had just played. The room stayed quiet. No laughs, no cheers, just stunned faces staring at the stage. Trump glanced at the papers again, then at Jimmy, then back to the audience, like he was searching for an escape route that wasn't there. The silence after the audio clip didn't last long. Trump's freeze cracked open into full-blown fury. He slammed his palm on the armrest, voice jumping up loud enough to make the front row flinch. "This is a total setup, Jimmy. Fake documents, fake audio, crooked. You're running a hit job here and everybody can see it." He pointed straight at Jimmy, fingers shaking a little from the adrenaline. "You think you can ambush the President of the United States on live television with this garbage? Disgraceful. You're a low-rated hack who's been gunning for me since day one." The words flew fast and mean, the same playbook he'd used in 100 rallies and debates. But this time the audience didn't cheer or laugh. They just watched wide-eyed as the volume kept climbing and his face turned redder. Jimmy didn't flinch. He sat there steady, hands folded on the desk, and waited for the storm to pass a beat before speaking. "Mr. President, the documents are verified. The audio is authenticated. We can go through line by line if you want." His tone stayed even, almost polite, which somehow made Trump's shouting look even more out of control. Trump cut him off mid-sentence. "No, no, no, you don't get to lecture me. This is rigged." He leaned so far forward the chair creaked, eyes locked on Jimmy like he could burn a hole through him. But Jimmy just nodded once, calm as ever, and said, "Let's hear from someone who knows more than either of us." That stopped Trump cold for half a second. Jimmy glanced toward the control booth and gave a small signal. The big screen behind them lit up with a blurred silhouette. No face, voice distorted just enough to protect identity. A man's voice came through the speakers, low and careful. "I worked security for the family back in 2005 and 2006. I saw the paperwork come through. There was a DNA test done quietly after Barron was born. Results weren't what was expected. They buried it fast. New records issued, people paid off. I kept copies. It's real." The words hung there like smoke. Trump's mouth opened, closed, opened again. For the first time that night, he actually stammered. That's a lie. You're lying. Who is this guy? Put his face up. Show everybody he's a nobody." Jimmy shook his head slowly. "He's choosing to stay anonymous for obvious reasons, but he's not the only one talking." Before Trump could fire back, Jimmy slid another folder across the desk and flipped it open. Printed emails stared up at the camera. Dates from late 2005, early 2006. Subject lines jumped out. Record adjustment, urgent, payment confirmation, discretion required, names redacted but context crystal clear. One email chain showed back and forth about finalizing the new certificate and ensuring no leaks. Jimmy read a line out loud, voice steady. "Make sure the hospital cooperates. We can't have questions." Signed by someone high up in the inner circle. Trump's eyes darted to the screen, then back to the papers, then to Jimmy. He tried to interrupt. "Those could be anything, Photoshop, deepfake crap." But his voice cracked on the last word. The chain kept coming. Jimmy didn't rush. He just kept turning pages, letting each new email land like a punch. One showed a money transfer receipt tied to a law firm. Another had a doctor's note about additional testing requested post-birth. Rapid fire, one after another, building a picture that matched the audio and the documents perfectly. Trump kept swinging back. "Lies, hoax, witch hunt." But every shout sounded a little thinner, a little more desperate. His hands were clenched so tight the knuckles went white. The audience wasn't breathing. They watched him try to discredit the whistleblower, call the emails forged, accuse Jimmy of hacking, but nothing stuck. Jimmy countered every attack with another fact, another line, another piece of the puzzle clicking into place right in front of millions. Trump's aggression hit a wall and started crumbling. He stood halfway up once, pointing wildly, then dropped back into the chair like the fight was draining out of him. You people will do anything," he muttered, more to himself than anyone. Jimmy let the quiet stretch for a second, then said softly, "This isn't about me or you. It's about what's true." The words weren't loud, but they cut deeper than any of Trump's yelling. The room felt smaller now, the air thicker with the weight of everything piling up. Trump glared at the screen, at the emails, at Jimmy, searching for an out that wasn't there anymore. Then Trump was shouting, every sentence overlapping the last one, like he was trying to drown out the room. This is all lies, fake emails, fake voice, fake everything. You're part of the deep state, Jimmy, and the American people see right through it. He kept jabbing his finger toward the screen, then at Jimmy, then back to the audience. Voice cracking on the high notes. But the more he yelled, the quieter the studio got. No one laughed, no one clapped, just row after row of faces staring back, silent, watching him unravel in real time. His usual rally energy, the kind that used to fire up crowds, was falling flat here. The silence wasn't just absence of sound, it was judgment. Trump felt it. You could see it in the way his shoulders hunched forward, the way his pointing started to look less like command and more like pleading. He tried one last swing. Show me everything, right now. Put it all up, every single page, every clip, every so-called proof. Let the people decide. It came out half demand, half desperate plea. His face flushed, sweat beading on his forehead under the lights. Jimmy didn't miss a beat. He gave a small nod to the control room, and the big screen behind them flickered to life again. This time it wasn't documents or audio. It was a tight, fast-cut video montage. Old interview clips, rally speeches, TV appearances, all synced up with a clean timeline running along the bottom. Trump from 2006 saying, "Barron's my boy. Melania carried him the whole way. Beautiful pregnancy." Cut to 2015. Family's everything. No secrets, no drama. Then 2018. A different story slipping in about how we handled things privately back then. Each clip highlighted the little shifts, the contradictions stacking up side by side. The editing was surgical. No narration, just Trump's own words clashing against each other in quick succession. The montage rolled on for maybe 90 seconds, but it felt longer. Trump's eyes were glued to the screen at first, mouth working like he was chewing on what to say next. Then his face changed. Shock, then anger, then something raw. Midway through, when an old clip played him bragging about no cover-ups in my family ever, he blurted out loud, "That's not what I meant. I meant publicly." The words tumbled out before he could stop them. The audience caught it instantly. A low murmur rippled through the seats. He just contradicted himself on live television, right after demanding the full evidence. Jimmy let the clip finish, then paused the screen on that last frozen frame of young Trump smiling for the camera. No comment, just the image hanging there like an accusation. Trump's whole body language screamed defeat now. He leaned so far forward his tie dangled loose, hands gripping the armrests like he might fall out of the chair. His breathing came in short bursts. The shouting had stopped. What came next was quieter, almost broken. You people twist everything. This isn't fair." But the fight was leaking out of him fast. The audience stayed dead quiet, the kind of silence that makes every small sound echo. Trump looked around once, like he was hoping for backup that wasn't coming. Then, in one sudden move, he shoved himself up from the chair. The legs scraped loud against the floor. He pointed straight at Jimmy, finger trembling this time, and snarled, "You're done! This show's done!" No more words after that. He turned, red tie swinging, and stormed off the set, footsteps heavy and quick down the short hallway until the curtain swallowed him. The second Trump disappeared behind the curtain, the studio felt like someone had hit the mute button on the whole world. No applause, no boos, just this heavy quiet that settled over everyone like a blanket. Jimmy stayed in his chair, hands resting easy on the desk, looking out at the faces in the dark. After a long beat, he leaned into the mic just a little and said, soft but clear, "People deserve honesty even when it's uncomfortable." That was it. No big speech, no punchline, just those few words hanging there. Heads started nodding slowly in the audience. A couple people murmured, "Yeah," or something close to it. The shock from the walkout started melting into something else. Quiet agreement, maybe even respect for how the night had ended. Jimmy gave a small nod back, like he understood exactly what they were feeling, then signaled the band for a gentle outro tune. The lights dimmed a touch. But nobody rushed to leave. They sat there processing, replaying it all in their heads. Outside the studio, the reaction hit like a wave. Phones lit up before the credits even rolled. Clips already spreading on X, TikTok, everywhere. People posted the same thing over and over. Did you see that? He just walked out again. Jimmy didn't even raise his voice and still destroyed him. Comment sections filled fast with breakdowns. Trump's yelling versus Jimmy's calm stack of facts. The way aggression looked small next to quiet evidence. Pundits jumped on cable news within minutes, some calling it a masterclass in composure, others saying it exposed how thin the bluster really was. Late-night hosts the next day replayed the exit on loop, turning it into memes, but underneath the jokes was real talk. This wasn't just entertainment, it was a reminder that authority doesn't always win when the facts show up prepared. Trump's own circle stayed mostly quiet at first, which said a lot. A couple allies went on friendly podcasts to spin it. He was ambushed, it was unfair, classic media trap. But even they couldn't hide the cracks. One advisor leaked anonymously that the team was reassessing how to handle family questions going forward. Others close to the family emphasized the unanswered parts. Why storm off instead of fighting back with proof? Why no immediate counter-documents? The silence from Mar-a-Lago spoke louder than any statement. Questions lingered because the evidence hadn't been debunked on the spot. It had just been yelled at. That gap kept the story alive, feeding endless panels, threads, and think pieces about what real accountability looks like when someone in power gets cornered. Then came the ripple nobody expected. Less than 24 hours later, an anonymous account dropped a fresh batch of files online. More emails, more redacted hospital notes, even a scanned page from what looked like an old private investigator's report. The leak hit every major outlet at once. No one knew who sent it, but the timing was perfect. Right when people were still arguing about whether Jimmy had gone too far. The new stuff lined up exactly with what had aired. Same dates, same names in the shadows, same hints at cover-ups. It wasn't just confirmation, it was escalation. Global headlines exploded. Trump-Kimmel fallout deepens with new leaks. What else is hidden? Social media turned into a non-stop debate forum. Fact-checkers worked overtime. Even neutral viewers who'd shrugged off the rumors before started asking real questions. The story didn't fade, it grew legs. If you're liking this, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss the next one.